Hello, everyone. I'm Saeed from the Masters of Architecture program.
My name is Lena, and I am a Master's of Landscape Architecture student.
Hi, I'm Inge. I'm the master student of landscape architecture.
Today, we'll be presenting our design for the Heron Meadow called Learn and Linger. So, at the very beginning, we looked at the site within larger proximity and started looking at relative spaces that we can incorporate or maybe learn from and connect to our site. So we looked at green spaces and schools within the site's proximity, but then we decided to focus it a little bit more. And within that scale, we saw that we have a high density of educational facilities or institutions with some activities that are geared toward that kind of demographic. And that we also have some social areas and spaces across the street from the Vashon Center of the Arts. So we decided to focus our concept and design within these parameters.
So that context of the educational facilities such as Chautauqua being so close to the site really honed in our concept of the site as an outdoor classroom and being for students, whether they be young or old, and highlighting the areas around the site through these different words for how we want to programmatically view them. So from orient to discover or exploration, you'll see these themes pop up throughout the site as we give our presentation. We also mapped out how different users might experience the site. For example, if someone was going to the art center, they might really be here to move to the beginning of the site and look at different entrances of the site and kind of explore the art aspects of the site. While a elementary school class could really gain from a lot of different areas on the site that Inge will go on to explain now.
Okay, this is our site plan. We can start from the entrance area. We still use the original north entrance as our main entrance area. And to make it more attractive, Saeed designed several types of structures. One is with the platform steps, which make it more informal, and another is constructed with an exhibiting pavilion, which is more formal. And when we move to the northeast corner, there is a depression. To make full use of this landform, we create an ecological pond for providing habitats and stormwater management. And some structures like explorer platforms are designed there by Saeed to make this area more interesting. And when we're walking along this wood chip path to the south of the site, there is a nature maze designed by Lena. In this nature maze, kids can continue their exploration. There is a boat walking across the maze, which could attract students and people from the southeast corner. And when we're moving to the southwest, there is a terrace. And I designed it as a pollinator garden, which is for providing habitats for native insects and flowers. The retaining wall of the planting beds is made of the rock, and the material of the path crossing the pollinator garden is also wood chips. And then when walking along the west side, we can see the mural wall painted with native birds. And when we get closer to the elder grove, some social spaces with benches will be there. And you can find that we designed our paths along the edges so that we could make the open meadow have space for public activities. And for the whole site, we use board walking as the area will be wet during raining seasons. And the material of the rest of the paths, we majorly use wood chips.
As we were discovering different areas of the site, it was really important to us that we created this connection between people who are visiting the site and the ecology that exists and we hope to exist on the site. And we made this diagram to show potential wildlife traces that could be on the site, from an American bullfrog in the ecological pond area to pollinators in our pollinator garden and throughout the site, and potentially bats at night. And we looked at whether or not you would see these year round or in the spring and the summer. But either way, there would be a lot of wildlife that the site could support. And we also looked at seasonal plantings and the different colors that might show up. We felt that this really connected native plants that we wanted to use with how people view a deciduous landscape. And these seasonal changes can really help people orient themselves to the site and understand seasonality, as well as be subjects for kids to discover and learn about.
So we're going to look at the site. We broke the site into different regions, and we're going to look at their design step by step. So at the very beginning, the entry area where the meadow meets the street, we designed this entry space with multiple entries. The formal one being the one connected to the main structure that is connected to the existing milk barn, just to enhance it and empower it a little bit more, and just get more out of that exquisite material of aged wood. And then to the right, we have an informal explorer kind of entrance where it's encouraging people to get closer to the ecological pond and see the nature and just learn from what's within that area. And of course, there are some hidden activities or challenges within the design, incorporated within the design itself. But starting with the exhibit space, we've designed it to have a series of structures that are similar in language, but they serve different purposes. With the first one being an entry gate that can be used as an exhibit space. With the extension of the interior space of the milk barn, we get a larger exhibit space that can be used for different or a variety of events. So what is the design and concept language of the design? First, we wanted to define a directionality to the site or the entry point, and then we made it more focused by rounding it up into a tube shape that is slightly varied. And then we made it flow with the contours of the site. And by setting it in a hierarchical fashion, we decided to program it in different matters, where the first one is more of a covered exhibit space. The second one is a dynamic pavilion that is free forming and free spinning, that hosts many information regarding the site and its ecology. And finally, the final step is the seating space that is open to the big and the start of our design, which is the meadow that we have. So how does the design look like from a journey perspective? We step in, we stop at each one of these points, we learn something new, we get to have a different experience. And then on the other side, we have the ecological pond, in which we looked at the water level in which that can change throughout the year. During summer, it dries out because the level of precipitation needed to hold water is below what we're estimating. And also colors change based on the plant's biology, and then as we visualized before with the planting diagrams. So it changes accordingly, and so we can get more of a vibrant scene throughout the year. Finally, the Explorers platforms were designed to have a different type of lesson or educational experience within them. They encourage exploration and maybe just like diving into what seem to be inaccessible spaces, but whoever reached these spaces will be rewarded with an educational experience. Some of these are astronomical lessons, conceptualized with an annual star map or a human sundial. Some of them have different passive information in them. So this is pretty much open to different type of solutions, but it's a suggestion that we're giving away. And finally, this is how we're imagining kids to be jumping around, enjoying the space, getting some physical activity in there while talking and discussing what they're observing within the space.
Yeah, and we really see this as a place where kids are able to play and observe by being in contact with the water, as well as people being able to walk up right to the edge of it on the site, so that it's something that continues to pull them into the site. And this is just another view of how we might look at that play area in the ecological pond. Then we move down to the southeastern corner of the site, where it's the wettest with the nature maze. And this area is really about connection and exploration, and connection through this piece of the boardwalk down on the southeastern edge there, being able to connect people from the elementary school and up to the Blue Heron Art Center. So if kids do have after school or during school programming there, they're able to move throughout the site quickly and safely rather than having to walk on Cemetery Road as they currently do, where there's no sidewalk. And then it's also really about exploration. So these different activity areas that people approach as they walk through the site. For example, the next slide. The boulders in the corner here where kids could run and play on them, as well as this would be the wettest area of the site, and really leaning into the fact that it's okay for kids to move throughout this area while it's wet. And it could be a different way to get off of wet ground if needed. And then these snags would be artificial snags for kids to be able to climb and jump and play on, but hidden into the existing vegetation and more densely planted brush that would be there. And really just another opportunity for kids to kind of see what's around a different corner and explore this area through natural wooden elements that appear throughout our site. And then there would also be a shelter at the driest part of the nature maze to keep consistent this nature of, or this element of shelter throughout the site for us, where a school group, for example, could find shelter if they were presenting or doing activities. And also people could take respite from rain if needed in this wetter area.
I am focusing on is the exploration along the western edge from the wetland buffer to pollinator garden to swell, the bird's mural wall, and elder grove. Next, please. And this is the pollinator garden. The idea of the pollinator garden is to make it as a place with the ecological, educational, as well as recreational function. And the hierarchy of the pollinator is emphasized by the planting beds at different heights. The pathway crossing the pollinator garden could guide people to different part of the site. And outdoor classes could also be here, and no matter practical field trip or volunteer work. And this is what the pollinator garden might look like in different seasons. During spring or summer, could be a great gathering place or outdoor classes. And in winter, there might be not such attractive as the flower season, but this is still a good place to take a walk. Next, please. And this is the section of the mural wall. The mural wall is already there and looks great. To make it more attractive and help it further play its educational function, we add some elements. We create the wood chip paths along the mural wall so that people can get closer to see the beautiful birds painting. And we also get some benches there so that students could have their outdoor classes there. And we also think that planting some QR code about the native birds is a good way to let people know more about native species. And this is what the mural wall might look like during different seasons. No matter you are walking along the board walking or along the wood chip paths, you can see the awesome mural wall. Thank you.